The presenting sponsor of Moontower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Swoontower Soccer. I'm Steph Craniola.
And I'm Mike Craniola.
And today we are all about the boys.
Yep.
Today we are going to fly through some regular segments like match moods and goal Celly and social media standouts. And then we're going to scroll right past that into our opponent spotlight with Michelle and Christian from Simply Soccer.
You nailed it this week.
Thank you. I always do.
We had no dog. Sucks.
Are you allowed to say that?
I did.
Wow. All right.
I'm just ready to get back home. Talk to the dogs.
I know. I'm so excited for this weekend's dog. But we don't know who it is yet. Susie, get at us. All right. Fit checks we already talked about. Their travel wear. Last week we, blew our own show.
Yeah, how dare they travel 2 weeks in a row? What about us?
Well, no, we covered this week's. We covered Vancouver travel.
That's right, because they left early.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they ruined our show. Thanks, Austin FC. Match moods. Bad.
Wow. That's not what you wrote here.
No, I wrote, we had a match. I must have blacked out.
So I do want to talk really quickly about the one thing that happened in this match. Brad Stuver caught a mouse.
Incredible.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Friend of man and beast alike.
I love Brad Stuver.
Also, we got confirmation that despite the lady's face in the MLS
she was
broadcast,
big gross. Yeah.
It was indeed a mouse.
Not a rat.
Not a rat.
Amazing. But you know what? I have something controversial and brave to say.
Okay.
Rats are cute.
I knew you were going to say that.
I had a rat once for a pet. His name was Scotty Too Hottie, and I loved him. Pretty sure I've said that on the show before.
Yeah. Every time you tell us the rat's name, it's funny. All over again.
You can't, it's a proper name. Good name for a rat.
Great name for a rat.
Let's talk about our goal Cellies. We're pretty excited for this segment this week.
We're lucky.
So
Danny scores an absolute banger of a goal.
Literally so good that MLS made it the goal of the match day, which honestly,
brutal.
Kind of rude.
Unfair, MLS. Just unfair. What about us? What about our feelings?
Come on, guys. But it was absolutely an iconic banger.
Yeah, I hope today, as we're recording this on Wednesday, I hope that he is able to look at that goal and be like, yeah, I smoked that one.
But in the moment, this goal celebration was just everyone started running back to the middle of the pitch to keep playing because they were, intent on scoring some more goals. And Danny had a little just shrug and WTF face. The
grumpiest face.
I don't even think it was grumpy. I think it was just
it was just grumpy about the situation, not the goal, right? But you could tell that was a face of a guy who's why couldn't that have come in a win or a draw or why
any other game?
Why is my hottest goal a footnote in this game?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, Celly. The perfect face, the perfect celebration for that goal. And what a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, you've got a second goal on here.
I do, because I was at the Efecito match and I watched Peter Grogan score a goal. And the special thing about Peter Grogan's goal is that his whole family was there from Ireland.
Oh.
And they were watching the match. And Peter Grogan scores this header off a free kick that's or a corner that's super messy in the box. Nobody exactly knows what happened, but he knows he scored it and it went in. And so he runs to the corner flag. He does a cartwheel. He does a somersault. And then he gets up and does two Texas revolver shoots, like a cowboy.
Oh my God.
It's an incredible goal celebration.
10 out of 10.
We're all freaking out about it. And then Landon and I look down and his family didn't know he had scored the goal. They were like, "Wait, was that Peter?" Like, and they were so excited to find out it was him. Except his dad had been in the bathroom.
No.
Folks who have listened to Moontower this week, apologies for the double story, but my SWOONTOWER fans, I know where y'all are at.
Oops, sorry, I haven't listened to Moontower this week. Clearly.
Peter's dad comes up the stairs, and to hear the full uncensored version, you can listen on Moontower. But he looked at me and he said, "I was in the loo and I missed it."
Oh no.
Ultimately, like, a awesome experience watching that goal, Celly. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because it wasn't a full flip. It was just a somersault.
I'm sorry. Cartwheel, somersault, double finger guns, 10 out of 10. Like, no question.
This is a 2 10s Celly rating day for you.
Yeah, double tens. Double tens, baby. It's to make up for all of the other emotions that I've had this week. Let's go to social media standouts. Speaking of emotions and maybe conflicting ones.
Yeah. Mirto Uzuni posted a very heartfelt, "We are very sad" message on social media this week after the goals, after the match. But he did it in Comic Sans, which like like,
we are so sad.
right, like the deeply unserious font that is Comic Sans in this like big, the entire city deserves an apology kind of message. Like, I knew he didn't mean it this way, but like I felt made fun of. Like,
yeah,
because like you see it in like ironic spaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that is an American cultural thing, or at least an English speaking cultural thing,
and it's one of the default faults on Instagram,
right? And so like I get that this is not him teasing us, and
incredible,
really hard not to feel like he was like, "You're being a baby."
Yeah. Yeah. So something that is 100% wholesome is yesterday. So we're recording this on Wednesday. Tuesday was National Laundry Day. And we had another laundry project in Austin headed up by Carrie Tillery and our favorite goalkeeper, Brad Stuver. They were there doing laundry for the community, and another couple, familiar club faces in the picture that they shared out. So shout out to everyone who went out to support that initiative. And the fact that they've been able to keep it going for 5 years, it's just an amazing project, an amazing resource for the community, and they're incredible people.
Yeah, just really wonderful, and just especially wonderful knowing that it's Brad's birthday today. Brad Stuver, happy birthday. Today is Wednesday the 16th. So you're listening to this on Friday, so I guess happy belated birthday.
Well,
because I know you're listening.
I'm saying it now, so he should be able to feel it like a force.
Ooh, sure. Yeah, if you are listening to this on Friday, go back in time to Wednesday, wish Brad a happy birthday, or blame SWOONTOWER and wish him a happy birthday on Friday and say you just found out about it today.
Happy birthday, Brad. You want to take an ad break?
Let's
break?
A Brad break. Oof.
SWOONTOWER Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FVF Law, the official injury lawyers of Austin FC.
FVF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
You can go to FVF.law to find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that is FVF.law.
Our premier sponsor is McGuire Woods Consulting, helping clients in the public affairs space from lobbying at the local, statewide, and federal levels to digital and communications campaigns across the country.
McGuire Woods Consulting has offices in 10 MLS cities, but only advertises on this podcast because it's the home of the soon-to-be 3-time Copa Tejas champions, which is the most important trophy in professional sports. Contact our friends at McGuire Woods Consulting at www.mguirewoods.com. mwcllc.com for more information. Well, we are meeting the Galaxy at home on Saturday afternoon this weekend, coming in with a very different vibe on both sides from before our first match last year. We've kind of flipped the script on each other in terms of the season so far, maybe ignoring the last week for both of us. So to preview the match, we are so excited to be joined again by opponent spotlight returnees, Michelle and Christian from the Simply Soccer podcast. Christian, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us. I mean, we had so much fun the last time we were here, so I'm excited. Obviously, Michelle, the psychic predictor of everything, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So I hopefully will then, kind of get my chance at that. But yeah, no, we're super excited to be working with you guys again, and we're super happy.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us. And, we'll see what I can pull out of my back pocket, because I definitely think the Galaxy and Vanny need to pull something out of their pockets. But yeah, I mean, it's really fun, and we don't do predictions on our show, notably. So we'll see what comes out today.
You got
Speaking of the last time we talked, Michelle, you were pretty Vanny out. And then he went and won you a championship. And so I just want to know, did he do enough last year to earn your grace this year?
You probably should have asked her this, I don't know, 3 months ago.
No, that is really funny that you brought that up, because it is in my notes that I was going to bring up that I wasn't a fan of Vanny's coaching until we won. And I notably told Christian, even recently while he was texting me, and I didn't tell him too much, even though he's my co-host and one of my best friends, I did not tell him what I was going to say on here, just because, I don't want to influence anybody's opinions in any kind of way. So no, for real, not a fan of Vanny's coaching until we won. And I think he won because of the talent that he had on the team, and because of who the players were and how hungry and how bad they wanted it, and the chemistry of the team. And a lot of credit to Will Kuntz for, the players and selection that he's come up. But looking at the state of the Galaxy now, for those listening who don't know about Will Kuntz, he's the manager for the Galaxy, and he's been doing a lot of the scouting, and Vanny's the coach. And so just looking at where we're at now, I'm not Vanny out, just because I don't think that a coach is changing right now, no matter how bad the Galaxy are doing, isn't going to help the team. Christian and I always talk about Galaxy's, seasons of the past, and, the past is the past, but at the same time, you take lessons from history, right? Especially as a teacher, you're looking back on what we know about the teams and the histories. And so, notably, coach change is not the answer right now. Also, we were talking about who could even fill those shoes at this point. There's nobody really available that we would even consider. So as of right now, no, I'm not Vanny out. However, I do think that he got an extension just because of the cup win. I'm not a fan of his coaching right now, especially this match in Houston. The lack of subs and who he didn't put on, who's not starting, especially with the funding of the Galaxy. We can get into that a little bit more as we go on. But yeah, so that's where I stand on Vanny right now.
Yeah, and to follow up on Michelle, I think you can't ignore the amount of injuries that the Galaxy just have faced, and the fact that this is a team, as I've said before, winning MLS Cup is a great honor, but it's also a great curse, in the sense that you have no time. And everyone called the title celebrations rushed, and it was the day after they won MLS Cup, and everyone was like, why are they rushing this? The reason is they needed to get everyone on the beach as fast as possible, right? Get them relaxed, let them have that time. Because MLS Cup was December 7th, and I think we played our first preseason match on January 10th or 11th, because we had CONCACAF Champions Cup. So we've had a lot where there's been a lot of injuries, there's been a lot of movement, and they lost a lot of core parts of what made the Galaxy last year, which was Dejan Joveljic, Riqui Puig probably not coming back this year, who was the best midfielder in MLS last year. There's all these little things where, they signed Pablo Sanabria, and he's supposed to be the replacement for Mark Delgado in midfield. Well, what does he do in his first game? He shreds his shoulder, and now he just came back. Like, you signed Mateus Nascimento, a really exciting, talented, common attacking midfielder, but plays kind of a little bit closer to the left wing. What does he do? He doesn't really see the field because he's been dealing with a minor calf injury. Like, it's all these things where everything the Galaxy were supposed to be reliant on, they just haven't been able to be reliant on because it's just not been there. And so I don't think this falls on Vanny necessarily. And I agree with Michelle that Vanny out right now would not change this team. They are still a butcher's list of injuries, but it's a question of how do they respond, and tactically, how do they respond? And they shifted a couple of things tactically this year. I think you look at the fact that they're using Emilio Garces as a defender to maybe move the ball a little bit more through midfield. I think they realized the Mark Delgado loss in midfield was a bit of a problem. So what they're using Emilio Garces as a center back is to basically have him be a pseudo center back shuttler 8-4 role, which is not a bad idea considering how good he is on one-on-one challenges and stuff like that. But I think the personnel issue, they just don't have the bodies. And it's really shown. We've gotten to week 6, week 7 of the season, and they look tired. And it's like, you want to see that in August. You don't want to see that in April.
Right. And I think the national coverage so far for the Galaxy has been kind of around, they had to get rid of Jalen Neal. They had to get rid of like all of these like star players from last year. Ricky Puig is out. Joseph Paintsill is just coming back from injury now. But hearing the even specific kind of like those replacement guys are injured, which has not been a national storyline, right? What are some of the other things from a national perspective that you think might not quite hit as accurate locally right now?
Oh, easily. It's goalkeeper. There is a very open question about who is the number one goalkeeper. And they made a very important and I think very serious change with going with Niko Mikovic at the starting goalkeeper to start the season. He is a incredibly talented young Serbian goalkeeper. They spent money to bring him in. He was supposed to understudy John McCarthy, and then the kind of understanding was that, well, he would take the role the next year. Well, John McCarthy then becomes an absolute superstar in goal for the Galaxy. I think if you take John McCarthy out of the number one role, they ran the numbers and it was something like the Galaxy would have finished somewhere around like 8th in the Western Conference. Like, he was that good. He ride the hot hand through the playoffs. And once you get into the playoffs, you're not switching goalkeepers because you're there to win a title. That's obvious. But then they start Nico this year and he really kind of blows a couple of moments. And you think, okay, young goalkeeper, you let him be a young goalkeeper and, hopefully he builds his confidence and hopefully everything goes well. Then they switch over to McCarthy because it becomes unsustainable. And John McCarthy starts showing the yips. And then all of a sudden it's like, so who's the number one? Because there isn't a clear number one. So I think that's been a really big part of this, is that, yes, they've had bad defensive moments. And yes, tactically, I would argue that they can't defend in transition. And yes, I would argue that they just look a little lost, I would say. That's the kind way I'm going to put it. But I think they also don't have confidence in the person that's supposed to stop shots. And that's the most critical role in the Vanny system, where it's like, it's not just stopping shots, but it's also distribution. And Mikovic McCarthy's a very good distributor. I don't know if Mikovic is there. And so now I wonder who really is the number one of this team. I think that's another kind of undertale of this team.
And so week by week, is that messing with your backline as well, this constant change? Because that feels like, keeper is the thing that you can root your starting 11 in and like have consistency on. So is that just like kind of making its way down the pitch, almost like dominoes in a like disservice to the
Uncertainty.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and Michelle, if you want to hop in here in a sec, I think the only certainty of this Galaxy season has been uncertainty. And I think it's
Sure.
really starting to getting to them because, you know, as Michelle will happily say, you know, she's railed on the podcast multiple times about how like the defense doesn't look settled, you know, no one looks settled. And I think she's incredibly correct on that point.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're condensing this to 30 minutes, and that's why I'm listening to what Christian's saying. Okay, Vanny
Otherwise,
has
you wouldn't
said-
listen at all.
No.
Ears off for Christian.
You know, there are podcasts. We love our Galaxy cohorts, but there are podcasts that go for 3 hours. So
Yeah.
just saying. And we could one of these days. We'll set it aside. We'll do a mega pod. But until then, you know, yes, the question is the goalkeeper. But for me, Vanny has said that we're supposed to be moving past McCarthy at this point. I don't think McCarthy can serve a ball to save his life. I think it is his fault when the ball gets, you know, thrown. I mean, as far as him keeping in itself and, you know, the trouble that the back line is having, I think that there's a bit of Swiss cheese in the back line. I can't put that all on McCarthy because when Mikovic is in goal, it's kind of the same thing that you're seeing it. And so what? So I think that we need to move on past McCarthy because that's what Vanny said that we were doing. Mikovic is supposed to be the number one. You know, that said, as I'm listening to what you guys are saying, my notes are like, well, I mean, this is not just a downturn of the Galaxy, okay? Like it's almost like the Galaxy got punished for winning, and it's almost feels like what they're not saying nationally is everybody has to get a chance to win. And so I feel like that they made changes that punish the Galaxy that doesn't want us to continue to be the dynasty. And I will sit here and say, everybody in MLS, including the refs, hate us. You see it. And
Handshake
you know, I'm not
emoji,
saying it's
honestly.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying like, you know, everybody's like, it's rigged. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying though that everybody hates us and the Galaxy have been punished. And so, you know, you look at what else the Galaxy are missing, not just in goalkeeping and not just in the back line. They've had a lot of changes. They've had to make a lot of you know, they've had to make up for a lot of losses, right? Whether that's injuries, whether that's because of financial reasons or whatever the case, right? We trusted Will Kuntz to make those decisions for these young players. And we keep preaching about growing soccer in the US and bringing up the academy guys. And Christian made a good point at another episode that we recorded on Simply Soccer that maybe these young kids just are not good enough to be on the first team. When you spend a lot of money on a USL kid like Winder, and then he's first of all being benched, and so that's Vanny's fault when you're not starting a guy that you spend a lot of money on. But then maybe these kids just, I mean, when you look at Gabriel Peck, right, and you look at Paintsill, and you look at the IQ of the guys on the pitch, Maya Yoshida, Diego Fagundes, these are top dogs that we're talking about. These are fantastic players that, you know, it's how the Galaxy are able to get draws. It's how the Galaxy are able to go up against Liga MX, okay? Like, there is some talent here. There's a lot to say, but I feel like the Galaxy are relying too much. As soon as Paintsill came back, they relied on Paintsill. Peck is literally standing there on the sidelines screaming for the ball. And I don't understand why they're not giving it to him. And also why more players aren't being more selfish about taking their shots. I love that they want to pass the ball to the next guy, but if you have a shot, just take it. What are these long balls? You know, there's going back to the academy kids. Maybe it's lack of experience, but there are some boneheaded, knuckleheaded decisions that they have been making that I'm like, bro, I follow USL now, okay? Like more than I did before because AV Alta FC got a team out here in Lancaster. So yeah, I can see that being young and inexperienced is not an excuse. You know, this team has figured it out without Ricky Puig before. Okay, before when he's been that guy took so many knocks, he was out a lot, and the team was still able to figure it out. And so there's so many points that's going on. Like we don't have a striker. and I know that that's what Paisley's supposed to be, or that's what Peck's supposed to be, and that's why they play in the positions that they are, but it's not working right now. And so, yes, you can be really down on the Galaxy, and you can, I mean, I really don't think you should get on the guys that got us a cup last year, to be honest with you. Like, but something does need to shift. Like there has to be something. I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if they need to train harder. I don't know if they need a field trip together. Whatever it is, like the Galaxy really do need to figure it out, whether it's the coaching or not.
From what I saw from the half an episode of Onsides that I watched, it sounds like because Ricky Pooge is injured, maybe he's not throwing his little wine house parties.
Oh yeah.
And that's ruining your vibes. Like, I'm not here to make predictions either, but that's my best guess. So taking it into maybe some things that you've seen that have been positive. Like you're talking about, Pencil's back. He is a superstar. Diego's playing really well for y'all. You have Gabriel Peck. What are some pieces that, if everything clicks right this weekend, beats Austin?
I think it's Tucker Lepley. I think Tucker Lepley has looked very impressive in midfield. He's looked young, obviously, being kind of, a rookie and really getting his feet under the desk, but he really does an incredible work in the midfield of just stealing that midfield and making it really difficult for teams to operate. I think his tenacity, he sometimes toes the line a little too much. There was a challenge against Orlando a couple weeks ago where I was like, it's a good thing you were late to that challenge because otherwise you would have been walking.
Well, we'll get there. Well, that's our next question.
Yeah. But I think he's been very impressive. I think you look at, I'm a little higher on the young kids than Michelle is. I think they're making young mistakes. But you look at Edwin Cerrillo in the center of midfield, they have been so close to a moment where everything just clicks and everything feels really good. And I think looking at the past performances of the Galaxy, obviously the Houston game that they just went through, I think they were lucky to get a point out of that. Houston's a tough team. I will fully admit that. But if I'm Austin, knowing how Austin draws their lines of confrontation, which it's an interesting trend in soccer nowadays where everyone's drawing their lines of confrontation just a little bit deeper. I think it's mainly because we're moving away from high pressing systems because it's players are getting meat grinded down because of the amount they have to run. So if you have to play a 50-game season, you just start playing a little deeper. We saw it with Arsenal today against Real Madrid. I think the fact that the Galaxy, when you get them a lot of opportunities to be in possession, to start getting those passing lanes that they know so well, I think it makes them a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident. I would say like the one kind of thing that would be the most key on this is Lepley and Cerrillo policing that midfield, because I think Austin does have a really interestingly well-balanced midfield, a little kind of strange, but actually kind of has a bit about it. And I think that's where the Galaxy can struggle a little bit, but the Galaxy have this weird ability to just tactically be chameleons, but also when they get on the ball a lot, you see Lepley going in, you see Winder when he plays well, which I think that's a 50-50 shot. I think they create a ton of chances. And Michelle and I have talked about this a ton, where it's like, this is a team that creates a lot, but just doesn't have a finisher. And at some point, all they need is a Joveljic, which is either Ramirez or Barry, whoever wants it on the day, to just get hot. And if they can do that, then I think they're going to feel like this thing is good. And I would also add, the Galaxy don't have CCC to worry about anymore. They don't have anything else. They need to start. And so, you go to an Austin team that has been good. I'm not gonna bury them. They just look very kind of new coach, new system, new everything. They are going to go look for an opportunity to go pound a team to the tune of 3-4-5-0. and this might be an opportunity for them.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that y'all are down right now on Christian Ramirez, who has he's scoring at like 0.7 goals per 90. So he's got 3 goals on the season already for y'all. Like in a team that's struggling to put the ball in the net, he feels like a piece that from the outside seems really important to the offense. Is
Yeah.
that not the case? Am I looking at the stat and becoming blind from it? Or
Well, I would argue, I think a lot of the chances he's finished, Eddie Striker worth their salt is finishing. But I
Okay.
think Joveljic and a lot of other, between Peck and Pansel, like that, the killer P's as they were lovingly known, even though we tried to figure out if we could put a P in front of Joveljic's name, because I don't speak Serbian very well. My Czech is really good. Um, but Joveljic could create something out of nothing. And I think seeing Ramirez and Barry, I don't think they do that well. I think you
Yeah.
need to have both Peck and Pansel healthy, firing, and operating in order to give him those opportunities. Whereas with Joveljic, it was, all right, I can do this on my own. And it really opened up a lot. And also, I don't think Ramirez makes the smart runs that Joveljic makes. So I think it's more when Joveljic made the runs that he made, it opened up center backs and right backs and left backs because they had to be like, right, okay, who do we defend? Do we defend
Yeah.
Joveljic? Do we defend Paintsel? Do we defend Peck? Or do we defend Pooch?
Yeah.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that what Ramirez, I'm not a down on him the way that everybody else is or whatever you're hearing. I do look at him as a starter, like, okay, he's the guy that can finish. I don't think Barry is as bad as everybody thinks he does. I think Barry's a great sub. I think he's a pseudo Alan Gordon from back in the day, if you will. But that said, as Christian's saying, any striker with their salt needs to be serviced. And I don't think
Yeah.
that the Galaxy have the creation like they used to. I don't, again, the team has had a lot of changes. But really the main thing is the leadership. I noticed that Diego Fagundes is stepping up in that role. And so hopefully these young guys, things will start clicking better on the pitch. I don't think it's fair to compare Ramirez to other players like Joveljic. I mean, he is who he is, and I think he deserves all his glory all on his own. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm really glad that he's on the Galaxy. But as far as, taking on Austin, I mean, I miss being a mid-table team now, like from where we're at. I think that this is Austin's game to win. I hate to say that, but the Galaxy are away. They're down right now. Unless Austin is doing what the Galaxy do, which is shoot themselves in the foot and, like to break losing streaks, I think that, this is going to be a really tough match for the Galaxy in the state that they're in. The Galaxy need to stop chasing the game. They need to have that early game focus and not go down early, because then they're just like trying to play catch up. And while I do think this is a Galaxy team that has the spirit and the fight and they never give up and they have the potential to always come back, I really think that it'll just be too hard on this team, in this current team, to be able to do that. So the back line has to be stabilized. They can't be conceding early. They got to maintain the structure. We have to be efficient in our offense. I mean, the conversion rates for goals and capitalizing on scoring opportunities when they are there. I mean, I remember there was a match where the Galaxy literally had one shot on goal in 90 minutes or something crazy, and it was just very painful. And I know that's what you're hoping for. But the player integration, we got new signings like Nacimiento that have to adapt quickly to the team's dynamics. And just that mental resilience. I think this team does have a really good fight, but you can just tell that there's something missing in their confidence. And they have to just be able to build that momentum. I mean, the Galaxy can't get a goal on a set piece to save their life right now. But they also can't get baited. I mean, this might, as long as it's like if your team is up for it and the Galaxy are up for it, I think that this could feel like a playoff match. to be honest with you. It could be either really boring, okay, and this will be like a draw again if we're lucky. But because of the way the Galaxy are going right now, and who's not happy with a point on the road, but obviously we need to start winning, especially if we want to be contenders even for playoffs at this point, because everybody's like, oh, look at the math, like the Galaxy can be eliminated early, and you're just like, okay, well, don't get baited, keep your head in the game. The players need to just be sure when the match gets physical, like I'm okay with a yellow card if it's really worth it. But if you're dropping guys like just outside the box and you're, like again, those rookie moves that really just give away the game, I think as long as the Galaxy are able to, yeah, just take the shot, honestly. Like just keep taking the shots. I really don't care where the goal's coming from.
So you mentioned him. I gotta hop in and ask: is Diego Fagundes fighting with your fans on Twitter as fun for y'all as it is for me? I just gotta know.
It's wonderful because this happened a lot last year where like they had personality. I think that's what we've longed for from the Galaxy, which is just like it being relatable and personable, which is like, yeah, like, okay, give them stick. Like, if you're getting stick back, let them fight. Like, I'm cool with that. It's weird, but I'm very cool with that. I would not dare to step to a professional athlete personally. I attend the gym 5 days a week. I would like to think that I am generally a fit person, but I'm not that fit. So, I'm not gonna step to a professional midfielder. I will not do that. I will say, Michelle made a very good point about tenacity in midfield, and I pulled up a stat real quick, which is for Austin. It's a 0.161 expected goals for Mirto Uzuni, who was supposed to be the savior of that midfield. If there's one midfielder who I watched a lot of La Liga last year, who I was like, oh God, he's here now. Like, uh-oh. If there's one midfield that's going to be willing to give him a ton of space to let him go be really good, which he did a lot of in La Liga last year, he's the name I would be looking at right about now. It could be the Uzuni game where he finally gets his feet under the desk. But
Yeah.
I mean,
we're hoping
Brandon
for
Vasquez
it.
also. I mean, the Galaxy are good. That's what they're going to have to be aware of. Like, is the fact that he is very good at open space, kind of moving the ball well, eating lines, eating space, and the Galaxy are going to have to get a body to him the entire time. I hope Yoshida's back in the defensive line, because my Yoshida, I was really worried about the fact that they signed a 36-year-old center back. I was quite terrified, to be quite honest. I think with attacking players at a certain age, if they're 35, 36, look at Lewandowski at Barcelona right now. You just get a year where it's like, oh, hey, you still got it. Like, cool. Defenders, that doesn't always really happen. Like,
yeah, it feels like it can be a cliff, right?
Exactly. Like, you don't always get it back. Defenders, it very much is. Once it goes, it goes. Yoshida, that has not happened yet. And so I think if they can get him back this weekend, you pair him with Emilio Garces, who has been one of the best one-on-one defenders in MLS this year, I would say, so far, kind of somehow saving the Galaxy from falling on their faces, even though the Galaxy are more than happy to do that, then I think the Galaxy will have a shot. I agree with Michelle. We don't do predictions on our show, but I agree with Michelle. 1-1 draw would sound about right for these two teams, but I think if the Galaxy kind of get the wind under their sails and Peck and Paintsel, if Peck's hip injury is not as bad as we think it is, which I don't think it's that bad, but, kind of sort of thing. You never know with these sort of things. And the Galaxy are very good about telling you. I mean, they told us all that, like, Pooch was going to play MLS Cup final, and then all of a sudden it turns out he tore his ACL. Yeah, great misdirect, guys. Thanks. Great for my anxiety. That was really fun. I think they will be able to mount some form of attacking threat. And it's just, as Michelle mentioned, and Michelle made a very good point that I really wanted to kind of chime in on, which is they don't really have, they do create a ton. They don't have a lot of dynamism. And I think if they can come out in this game really just kind of start making things go, they are dangerous. They are still that team. They are still the team that can create a lot. And we've seen, and Michelle and I have talked through games where it's like, it's just going to take one moment. And then all of a sudden, this all comes together. And
We've
so,
been saying that too
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
season. Even though we've been winning by like a goal until this week, that's kind of how we're feeling in Austin. It's like it's gotta
It's
click.
so close.
It's so close to clicking.
We're hitting
Yeah.
posts. We're like a centimeter away.
so it's stoppable force meets movable object is basically
Yeah.
what we're looking at here this
Exactly.
weekend. I hope not.
So, so I have a question that kind of like we've hinted at a couple times already, or y'all have hinted at a couple times. We have started asking this on these opponent spotlights because I don't like being surprised when games get a little aggressive. So on a scale from boxer to ball boy, how spicy are the Galaxy this year, especially coming into Austin after the entirety of MLS wanted to send Guillermo Biro straight to jail for a pretty soft red last year.
I will say these Galaxy are boxers. They will go down swinging. At the end of that Houston match, it was a little bit scary. Not a little bit
Yeah.
scary. It was
Yeah.
awful. I was really worried at home once again, losing, especially in those last, minutes, just being on our side of the pitch, and you're just like, are we gonna go down again? But this team, like I said, they have to be sure that they don't get yellow carded for nothing and that they're literally choke holding guys, because I do see the whole team like rushing up to each other and like getting into the other's faces. And so no, I
And
mean
we
it's
saw that
frustrating, and the
during-
frustration too. Yeah.
We saw that during preseason between
It's my favorite
Smockcock
preseason moment.
and
Diego.
Fagundes. Yeah, they had a little dust up.
Come on,
Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah.
That man came from Ukraine.
war.
He has been in war.
Yeah, like
My
pick your
guy,
battles.
Diego.
Like-
You're 5'3". Step off. He has laser eyes.
Yeah, and I respect Fagundes for being able to banter and hold his own, especially on social media, but you can't feed the trolls, buddy. Like if there's one thing I could say to him, yeah. There are some really great guys on the team like Nelson and Miller. I'm blanking on their first name, so Christian, you can help me. But they're too young and upcoming players that I really see that they could stay with the Galaxy and they could really make something of themselves on the team. So
You're
yeah,
talking
I
about
mean,
your young outside backs there, Harbor Miller
Yes.
and,
Yeah,
and
Harper.
John Nelson.
I can understand forgetting John, but Harbor?
Yeah, Harvard. Well, here's the thing. Harvard like literally made his debut against a Costa Rican team and then went down to Mexico, played in the El Volcan against Tigres, and I'm like, this kid is how old? And he's
Yeah.
sitting in front of a full, El Volcan, which like that's 62,000, I think.
The answer
At
is
that-
17, Steph.
Oh my God.
He's a 17-year-old boy. He
At-
cannot drive after midnight, but he can play in Mexico.
At that age, at 17, I was like dating some high school guy, and like it was not going well. Like, I mean, like,
also same.
Yeah.
like I don't know, man. I wouldn't have been able to do that. But in terms of battlers, they are. I think what defined the 2024 LA Galaxy and what I think they are trying to carry over is that tenacity, and they are. I would say they're boxers. They are, because there was so many games where Michelle and I would text each other at halftime and be like, "Yeah, I don't know about this one, guys." Like I don't know. And it was the game against LAFC. I remember at home. We were 2-0 down at halftime, and Edwin Cerrillo scores that absolute monster, from 35 yards out, his first MLS goal. And if you have not seen that goal, it is truly brilliant. The roof of the building comes off, and he just kisses the badge in front of Steve Cherundolo, and Steve Cherundolo was not having it. And like like he's in his mid-20s. Like they are gritty. They don't give up, and I think that's what defined their year last year, and I think they are sort of coming back to that identity. So I would say it could and the Galaxy are frustrated. They've
Yeah.
talked about this often. They have talked about how they feel like they are just they are bereft for ideas and they're angry about it and they're hurt. I don't like it when it turns into kind of heavy challenges and all that other stuff, but if the Galaxy, you're asking me to name a player, I can't really name a player. I think all of them are kind of on edge a little bit right now. So really just pick someone in the starting 11 and
I'll name one for you. I know who it's gonna be.
Do it. Do
It's
it.
gonna be
Diego
Diego.
Fagundez.
Yeah,
Diego's
it's gonna
gonna
I
be
be
was
Diego
just
on
gonna
the
say
revenge
that. I
game.
was thinking
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
it's not gonna be Marco Royce. Let me tell you,
I know. Well,
he is
That man
can't
loves to
run.
ride a bike.
borderline getting on Gerard level. I know Christian's not ready to say that yet, but I
I
am.
am. I've literally been doing that on the podcast for the past 4 weeks. I don't know what to tell you, my dude.
Michelle, she doesn't listen. Christian, Michelle doesn't listen to you. We've already established that.
Oh,
She said
does it
this
come
is
off that
finally.
All right, y'all. We got to know, what is the vibe around the team locally? We know LA is like it's a city where if you're not winning championships, they simply don't care. But like, y'all had like really dedicated fans, and like, what's it like there?
Oh my God. I am so glad that you brought this up because I was literally like, people will leave in the 75th minute and you're just like, oh, what are you gonna do? Like, beat traffic? This isn't a Dodgers game, you know? And so
Get 'em.
you expect, I mean, I'm sitting around, I'm in a new section of the stadium. I've always sat near Victoria Block, what used to just be Angel City Brigade, where Christians, bred in. And so I've sat on that side of the stadium, but I switched to the other corner and we're surrounded by some really great people. But I won't let the people around me leave because we are so connected. And I'm just like, you stay till the end. You do not turn off the TV when you're at home. Just because we're down. Like, you have to love this team through and through. We don't want to be like typical LA fans that are fair weather fans. Like, how dare you?
You can mention the
They
other club, by the way.
I was thinking that. You know, I will. Like, okay, yeah, we are better and we're more loyal than LAFC. They don't know the true pain and heartache of loving a team for literal decades and having to have your heart broken and continue to love the team. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like in 2005, part of the reason that I ended up a Galaxy fan was because the Dodgers broke our hearts one too many times. And yes, they're like, I still love the Dodgers, like they're in my blood, like more than longer than the Galaxy have been. But however, the Galaxy are the longest relationship I think any of us have been in. And that came up while I was standing in the longest line because they were giving a replica ring giveaway. And there was only 10,000 rings. And let me tell you, when these fans were not just feisty, but they were like security threats outside. And I'm not proud of that, okay? Because the Galaxy are like, as fans, we've said that we're better than that. And when you're like making security roll up on you because you're acting loco crazy trying to get a replica ring, and like I get it. And and everybody like went on social media to like
Oh my
vent
gosh,
about
the
it. And like I get
club.
it. But not just so what I'm getting at is like it's not about like giveaways that are putting butts in seats.
Yeah.
Like this is like we know who the Galaxy are. Like I constantly have people wanting to go to games with me no matter what the Galaxy are playing like because when you think of US soccer or soccer in the United States, I don't care. I know there's a lot of criticism with like Euro snobs and everything. You still think of LA Galaxy, and we just won another championship. Like, of all the teams in MLS, like the Galaxy are still the top. So yeah, that's where the fans are at. I mean, yes, ticket prices are low right now. I think it's like $30 to come to a game, which is fine. And people in LA can be like, "What? You're like down over there, like in Carson," and you're just like, "Do whatever." Like, just drive a little bit further down the 110. Like, if you're an LAFC fan, then you just think that Christmas Tree Lane is like LA then, because I know fans that I mean, like I said, I'm supporting AV Alta FC. And let me tell you, I see like maybe two LAFC jerseys or like sweaters or whatever because it's windy out here and it's still cold. But you see nothing but LA Galaxy if they don't have AV Alta fan
Yeah.
stuff. So it's like we're all the way north, we're all the way south. We got friends, across the ocean. So I just think to like limit the team and the fandom is absolutely absurd. The fact that Galaxy are still filling seats, I mean, even on a cold, windy night, which I know I'm being so LA right now, like 50 degrees is cold and like we're like bundling up like it's snowing. It is real. But, you know, you have fans that are out there watching the Galaxy on a Wednesday night. I mean, to say that we have a good amount of fans coming in, I can't complain. Like, as
That's
long as
good
the
to hear.
Galaxy continue to be passionate themselves, like, as long as the passion's coming from the players and there's accountability from the team and they know the pride of the Shield and what it means to play for the Galaxy, like, that runs all the way through. I mean, even when I talk to fans from other teams, like, there was AV Alta played Orange County, the club last night. And of
That was
course, one of the guys
that was a
says,
heck of an Open Cup game, by the way. If you do
and
not go back and watch that, that penalty shootout was one of the wildest things I've ever watched.
but of course, I'm having this conversation with like this 20-year-old kid from the OC who's like, "Oh, I started out as a Galaxy fan." I'm like, "Of course you did. That's like everybody, even if anybody you talk to. Well, why are you a fan of LAFC? Because I grew up in LA and I love soccer. Well, then why aren't you a Galaxy fan? Well, I started as a Galaxy fan." Like that's how every single narrative starts, and that's how it ends. Because we still see people come into both games. So like, yeah.
And just to add my little bit on this, I think what last year did, and you can hear the excitement in Michelle's voice, you can hear the energy, and that's what last year did for this fan base.
I was
This
gonna
was a
say
fan-
it's a totally different vibe from last year.
Yeah.
Like the Michelle's energy is like so much hyper this year.
Yeah,
Which-
I'm also on
because
spring break, so I'm rested. But
last year, I think what it was a fan base that had been in a lot of a dormancy.
Yeah.
Just year after year resigning yourself to absolute failure. And I remember MLS Cup final day, and I hope one day, obviously working with you both, I really enjoy you both. And I hope you get to experience this one day. MLS Cup final day is an incredibly amazing experience because everyone comes out of the woodwork. I saw people I hadn't seen in in years, and just people that either moved on because life just kind of brings us all in different ways. I i met someone the first game that I ever went to for the Galaxy, which actually was against the Red Bulls, and it was 16 years ago, and I hadn't seen him for 10 years because he moved out to where Michelle is kind of around, and he just couldn't make games due to life and whatever, but he was the first person around Angel City Brigade that I came out to. And it was the first game that I ever did. And I was like a 16-year-old kid. And it was like this moment that was like, oh, okay. And he was like, I don't care. Can you bust a lung for 90 minutes? And it was like, okay, I've been doing it for 16 years. And so to win that title, I was thinking about all the people. And we won the title. I literally get out. I see him and like just immediately lost it. Like I was crying like an absolute idiot. Um, it's like it was that. And so I think to have that fan base reawakened, knowing the depth and the passion and love of what we have when we put that crest on our heart. Because Galaxy fans, Pablo Maurer put out a tweet that was like, I don't understand why people think Galaxy fans are like elitist or snobist or whatever, because every single time I come to a Galaxy game, the tailgate culture, the fan culture, it's real. It's gritty. It's, like there's Bonda bands and, all this other stuff. You hear like it's family, it's generations, it's a beautiful thing. And that's why I think last year meant so much to us, because I mean it's a confirmation that this is an amazing thing. And we're very grateful. So like I think a lot of this year has been, yeah, well, a lot of this is gravy, if we do well, cool.
I'm
We're
really
still
glad to hear that, honestly, because
we're still partying.
Yeah. Right, because that's how it feels like it has to be that way in MLS. To Michelle's point earlier about the way roster construction is built, right? Like you have to accept that this is part of winning, is like this kind of downturn on the next year. And that's like that can be okay if you've accepted that. And it sounds like the team and the fans in the area are just still in that like loving the team, loving the crest, and that's really great to hear. Thank you all so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I mean, it's always really great to work with you guys, and hopefully you'll come on when you come visit us.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to.
Oh, I'm down to record again, even no matter how this match turns out. We'll do a recap episode with you guys. Why not? And I know that this won't be the last time the Galaxy play Austin FC, so
Right, for sure. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, and thank you so much for doing this for our fans.
You can find us at @simplysoccer__pod on Instagram. You can find me at cconway12 on Instagram. You can find Michelle at
Simply Striving 85.
Thank you guys for having us, and we are greatly appreciative. So if you want to ever hear about the LA Galaxy or U.S. Women's Men's National Team Soccer or NWSL, that's what we talk about.
Thank you so much again to Michelle and Christian for coming on and chatting to us about the Galaxy match this weekend. We're excited. We're ready to be there, and we're ready to see y'all at Q2.
Yeah, let's go. Remember to sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/moontowersoccer for your chance to grab those sweet bandanas and hot sauces before they maybe run out. I don't know what quantities are like. I'm sure if they do run out, we'll just get more. But do it anyway, quick,
get that hot sauce.
Also, don't forget to like, review, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell all your enemies, tell a stranger on the street
that you love hearing the man of my jersey every episode.
Oh my gosh.
I know, you just skipped right past it. Wow. Wow. All right, the man of my jersey today is none other than the
Jesus.
I was gonna say the man with the hands, but it just wasn't. That's not a thing I want. It's Brad Stuver. Happy birthday, Brad. You're great. I'm glad that you can catch mice and soccer balls and our hearts. Goodbye. We love you.
Love you. Bye.
I will marry Chewies.
Yeah.
Because they love Chew Boom Boom sauce.